All right. How about yourself?
I've been having a nervous breakdown trying to resolve this. I believe it's a bug in Visual Studio. Where have you ever had like one project reference another, and you update, you add some types, or you make an update to that other project, and that update just doesn't get recognized. It's still looking at an older version, and you have no clue what, like within the whole bin directory, where that older version may be like persisting at. And so you try to delete everything. You delete all your bin folders, you delete your .vs hidden file, and no matter what you do, that type, or it could be any update, just doesn't get picked up. Been going through that for like the past 5 hours, and I'm getting annoyed now.
Hmm.
Never happened to you?
Um, only if I set something to eternal and forget about it. But no. I mean, yeah, I've had it happen, but not to the point where I wasn't immediately able to figure out what happens, or like you said, delete everything. You'd run like a git course clean and just make sure that there isn't anything stale in there. But
Yeah, this is C sharp F sharp interrupt, and I'm using Visual Studio 2019 Preview 3. It just takes like a whole hour to like download and install a stable version of Visual Studio, but I guess I'm not going to have a choice.
well, you should be fine on that version though, right? Well,
On the
maybe you could.
on a preview version, I mean, I
Yeah,
would expect it to just work, right?
yeah. I mean, project references and build stuff is pretty basic things as far as features go in Visual Studio. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Is the deployment to the emulator just off? Like, can you make a change to the C sharp version and it works, or
Is the point? It has nothing to do with.
are you doing server side stuff now?
It has nothing to do with like running the application, or it has nothing to do with like mobile. It has everything to do with just writing code, and like one project file is not referencing the other project file correctly. So I mean, is it an impediment? Yeah, for what I'm trying to accomplish. Can I work on something else in the meantime? Yeah, it's just I really wanted to get all this stuff working so I could demo it today, which I can still demo.
Well, if
It's
we can
just
take a
not
look at the
intuitive.
bug it too and see if there's anything I can try to spot for you, an over the shoulder thing, but I'm sure you've
Trust me,
tried just about everything.
I done for the past 5 hours. I've done everything between last night and this morning. So
Did you try creating like a whole new project and referencing it to see if
yes, that's the killing part.
nothing?
I created a new project, copy and pasted all the code from the existing file of the old project into the new project, and it's still not picking up this type. It's not picking it up. And I'm like, how is this possible? That
It's not.
part doesn't make sense. That part is like, that's magic, because I added a new project and it's still not picking it up, which I didn't include in my Stack Overflow description.
Did you try override or like renaming another type and seeing if that got picked up? Just to see if there's still a connection there and that it's not something in the language.
I tried adding an additional type declaration, and that wasn't being recognized either.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Dang.
yeah. Anyways, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of complicated stuff that goes into IDEs. I'm aware of that. It's just annoying when things don't work.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Anyways, what's been up with you?
Not much. Finished up my final class with my students this week, so I got that off my plate. I did chat with someone, or I guess there was a follow up after a couple of weeks ago when that Ludum Dare event was, where I was chatting with people on a forum, and basically I got a contact from that, and I sent him he's interested in getting a box. I sent him the templates and things, and we're going to take it from there. I haven't heard back from him since I think Tuesday when I emailed him back, but I'm assuming he's got stuff going on during the week, and he'll probably, hopefully over the weekend, get to this thing and at least give me some questions or sort of comments or something. So moving forward with him anyways, see if that goes. And getting that interaction kind of makes me want, there's some sort of feedback there that makes me want to get more people going. So
yeah,
so I might push that a bit more this coming week. But yeah, I mean, I am interacting with one person on actively trying to get something made and sent out to them. So we'll see how it goes.
that's cool. What do they think about your price?
They fine, because it was one of the guys that I was actually talking with this about, and came to the conclusion that about $20 is about what it's worth or whatever, or the max I could charge, I guess, without people kind of dropping off, because it's like, it's not worth it. So,
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like I said, I think, maybe it's hit the part. We'll see how it goes. But the one thing I'm worried about is that it takes their time and work to actually put this together too, for something that's simply put on their shelf. Like it's not a trivial matter to design a package and design a manual, and potentially a label here. So I'm worried about that. I think having some like plug and play template type thing could help alleviate that, where here, put your title here and your image here, and you've got effectively what a box design, and then you can customize it beyond that or whatever in your own deal. I think that would help.
Sounds cool.
If I could get something like that together, and it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, I could probably make like a. Problem is there's a whole gamut of tools out there for graphic editing. It would be hard to make like, oh, this one is a template that you can use. I think I'd literally have to do it in HTML and CSS and get it, and then have like an export to PNG option or something, where then they can go and modify, and then any feature that they don't want, they could turn off or adjust in their own image editor. I don't know. I'll have to see about that, and I think more than that, maybe the instruction booklets are a lot more difficult to make up than the box design, because box design is just some graphics and some titles in certain places. But when you get into an instruction manual, it's cover page, and then what is on the back of that cover page, and then there's usually some control layout thing, and a page with the backstory, history, and information about gameplay and screenshots, and you got to lay all that stuff out, and it's a non-trivial matter. So, and to get it to be all, if you're kind of anal about things like I am, where you want things to be in aligned correctly, and not and what's the word I'm looking for? Aligned correctly and centered and boxed and distributed, with it, and so that clean lines and clean margins and everything like that. That stuff's kind of harder to do it's not impossible, but it's harder to do in an image editing software than you would imagine. So, especially between disparate pages. So So we'll see. I have some ideas for that too. Like, could do something like a markdown to instruction manual, tool or something like that, just to try to remove boundaries for people to getting these, such that it could be something where literally they could plug in a few images and text, and then get their whole thing put together. But or they could fully customize it if they want. So, but that's probably going to take some custom tool development, I think. So, but I don't know. I was thinking, maybe this next week I could try to find some additional people to that would like to make this, even if I give the first few away for free, just as a, what do you think of the construction of this, and what do you think the value would be, and is it a difficult problem that you have to put together the box and the manual? Because I think that's a problem. But if I literally give something away for free and people aren't willing to make to actually go through the effort of putting together a design and the pages of a manual, well, if what are they going to do if you charge for it? So
how does that work? Like, okay, so for the popular indie games, I always thought like a manual is something that is something that's packaged that sent to you. But like nowadays, I feel like you just download things and you just play around with it for the first 2 minutes or 30 seconds and decide if you still want to play it or not.
Yeah.
And so like I'm used to a manual being like tangible. But like in 2019, like when you go to like the video game store, it's tangible. But if you just download something, like for example, Call of Duty, there's no like tangible manual. There's a training.
The manual is built in.
Yeah, there's literally it's built into the game. So that's just something that's different. So I guess I say all this because one is I think it's probably really hard to build in a training manual into the game. But if you're already building a game, maybe it's not because you're already doing the work. But like, I don't know, what am I trying to get to? What is if the current practice is to build training into the game itself, then what is the likelihood or the probability of an indie developer taking the time to write out that same type of training onto a document?
Yeah, that's a fair enough question. Instruction manuals, the reason why they've gone away in a lot of cases is because of exactly what you said. Early on, in like the SNES in the early days when instruction manuals had their heyday, the reason why is because you couldn't waste the amount of time or the amount of space and memory that you had in a cartridge on a level that's purely for learning purposes or whatever. Or I mean, you could, but it was a lot harder to fit those kinds of things into the design of your game. Whereas nowadays we've got, for small games, virtually unlimited resources to do that in. And so you can change the way that your game actually operates to add in tutorial modes or to do a learning level or whatever. And so a lot of the need for that is gone, the original practical purpose of it. So it's definitely, none of this is practical as far as you would want this because it has a genuine purpose anymore. It's purely either a marketing or a vanity thing, right? I put this box on my shelf and now people can see, that I made this particular thing, and they can open it up and they can read this stuff and we can talk about it. um, as a separate thing, or I can show it off as a thing. But you're not gonna be like, I doubt you would put something like this together as legitimate. I'm gonna try to sell this to other people, and they're gonna really want. I mean, maybe if it's certain indie games, people do that for, um, but yeah. So I don't know to what extent, because it's like I said, it's a lot of work, relatively a lot of work. If you're not in already capable of just you know pumping out a design for a published piece of you know a thing that's going to be printed, um, for something that is a nice to have. So it we'll see. I'm not totally convinced. And it might be that manuals people don't care for, but just a box on its own, just something that they can, if they
Yeah,
leave it in the shrink wrap, has nothing in it, but
I don't. I mean, I don't spend time in that space,
Mhm.
but I think I don't spend time in that space. But I'm willing to bet that the majority of developers don't want to go into detail about the instruction manual. They just want to see a box that looks like it was put together. It
Yeah,
could be like I think we had this conversation, like, or maybe not, like, just lorem, was it lorem ipsum, whatever that name is,
yeah,
whatever that pig Latin is, like, you just generate that for the manual, and but for the front cover, it has like the nice like aesthetics or whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of up to them. The thing
Because
is
it's going to
too.
be in the game anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, probably. The thing I was thinking about is good. I mean, instruction manuals usually come with additional material that's not in the game. And that could actually be, something that is useful. Um, literally somebody could actually treat this as instead of an instruction manual, a dev could actually put like a development diary, booklet together, like and lay that out about just their postmortem about it, their development practices, some things, and some images of some things that they might want to remember that they might otherwise lose. Could be literally used as a time capsule. There's other ways to frame this. Um, I, some people really want this kind of material because there's a nostalgia factor to it. Um, and they're disappointed that new games don't have these things. So in a world where it's really hard to get your game sold, to begin with, having some additional stuff might draw more people into it. Um,
This is this
yeah,
is this is what I would do. Again, I'm not in your space, but I would probably consider um, blending the two, meaning that in the instruction manual, all right, toss me the images that you want to be displayed in the manual. So, for example, the different characters and their power, whatever, um, and then provide them the option of do they actually want to write out the manual, or they just want to provide the image assets to the manual, and then I just sprinkle lorem ipsum for each of the images, and that's it. And like by by default, you kind of know what I'm saying. Like, if they're not willing to write out all the details for how the game is played, but they like the aesthetics, then maybe you could just have within that manual whatever images that they want thrown in there, and then as a description is just lorem ipsum, and that's like the default. And if they really want to do an authentic manual, then they send you the actual, like, I don't know, English text or whatever,
yeah.
but you could just swap it out
I,
if
th- I
that's
think
what the business.
I
Okay.
think for a template type thing, that would be a legit approach, and it would probably be needed anyways because you want to show them when they look at the template what it's going to look like with text imposed in it, right? So that they know what it what it's going to be. I mean, I can help out too. I think with things like if I could get stock graphics for like game controllers and keyboards, so that and make a particular editor such that you can easily specify your controls on a page. Um, I don't know. There's a lot I could do with technology to try to make this as painless as possible or as easy as possible for people to do, which is again, I think the biggest the biggest barrier to actually getting people in this. Because if you could just hop on, you know, throw some images on, put your title, go through basically like a wizard of, okay, now make your control page because this is the layout. You don't have to think about whatever, uh, you know. Section one's your introduction, section two is your control, section three is your gameplay description, and then 4, 5, 6 is your character sheets or any additional information you want to add. And there's a notes page and a close, and then the back cover. And this is what it's going to look like, and you just have to fill in the gaps. And I think, I think if I can get that to an ease, and I can make it relatively easy to proof out your box and put it on there and see it. I feel like that would remove that barrier as best I can. And then if people still don't jump on, then it would be like this is just not something people are interested in. So,
Yeah.
but that's a long ways where I am today. So, but I've got two more, or really like 3 more nights a week now. I can effectively work on this. So, and I'm after kind of a dip. I feel like I'm starting to kind of maybe pick up some interest again. Um, and especially after just sending that out this last week. So um, yeah, keeping with it anyways is good. I
Okay.
don't know. At some point in time, I've got to evaluate whether it's worth doing, but I don't think I've properly vetted the idea yet. Um, so we'll see.
Seems hard, man.
Yeah. Well, anything that's worth doing is hard, right? Or anything that if it was super easy, everyone would be doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the barrier is money, but yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I've got limited resources, but I can put the bare bones together with that. And really, I don't ever see myself getting into a situation where I would do any venture where I would say I'm going to really bank my savings on this idea type thing. Bootstrapping from as cheap as possible is I think the approach. Even like I was thinking about one day, like maybe I should just say screw all this in technology and start like a burger place. And literally, I'll do it as cheap as possible. I'll buy like a used grill or whatever, and I'll rent out the cheapest place I can find that's in a good area, and I don't know. I'll just have pop in a cooler, and I won't even serve French fries. It'll just be hamburgers, and then maybe I'll add a fryer in a couple of years. Like you could put something together, like start a restaurant for like
Yeah, that's called the hood.
yeah.
I'm sure.
No, we don't exactly have. I mean, we don't
you go,
exactly have a hood here.
you could go to East Cleveland. You could go to Baltimore. You could go to Chicago. You could go to any hood and pretty much see that.
Yeah. So,
So,
but yeah, but those are entrepreneurs, right? and,
uh,
and smart ones, I think, because if they were to put something together people really like and build that up, I mean, they're pretty well set then, I think. But
yeah, yeah. I,
anyhow,
I, I guess I could do a demo real fast. Um, I'm hitting the plateau, man. Like, uh, before I start venting, let me just show what I have. And you should see my screen, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, first I'll just show that I did the map. Uh, uh, and then I'll go into detail about how I taught someone the app yesterday and observed them try to interact with it. And I have a lot of work to do. So,
That's good you're doing that.
so I hit the checkout button. Sooner or later, it'll load up map. And this is a lot faster on the actual device. So I got the map in here. And so this is the Airbnb, or not Airbnb, the delivery courier, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to, even though this is a straight line, this is the route, right? So, meaning that depending on where that customer is, like this will literally like the route will literally traverse different streets, right?
Yep.
So, like, that thing took me a while to figure out how to do. But that logic is in there. I'm interacting or interfacing with various Google Maps API, specifically the directions API. Yeah, that's the main one that I'm interfacing with. And what I wanted to do was carry that route, and then occasionally get the various ping locations of the courier onto all these other maps, right? And by default, I was like, oh, I'll just pass a reference of that map from the original map to the other pages. You would think that that would work, but no, it doesn't. The application just hangs. So to make a long story short, then I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not working out. It should work out. I should just be able to pass a reference to a map, and other pages just maintain that one map via a reference, but that wasn't working. So then I was like, all right, fine. So I'll just take the data from that map, such as such as the coordinates, and I'll just send the coordinates to the other pages that are going to have their own version of a map, but the coordinates are each of the maps are going to draw the same routes, right, via the coordinates that I provide. It's a list of coordinates, and that should resolve it. And well, theoretically it should, until, as I was talking about earlier, even though this type that I have isn't being picked up by my C# library that has the map in it. So that's just what I'm going through right now.
Does so when you say pass a reference, do you mean to get that same component or control on the
Yep.
this page as the other? I was thinking about that because I saw you tweet about it last night, and I wasn't sure what the actual context was. But would it be and I haven't used Xamarin Forms, but I've used other XAML. Could you move the component to the root frame and toggle visibility, and then just navigate and then restore it back and put it back on the other one, just in the code behind?
Can hold up, start over. Can I move the component? Can I move the map?
Yeah. So you've got the map in a control, right? Or there's some sort of control for the map that you're using.
The map is a control, and I have it in the page.
Yeah. So if you take it out of the page and add it to your root frame, I'm assuming there's a root frame that's steady across pages, right? And then do your navigation, and then take the root frame and restore it
Oh, I see what you're
restore it
saying.
to the or move it from that root frame. So basically, just you're pushing it up to us a something that's gonna live cross page, and then pulling it back down when you need it. I wonder if you could do something like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I did try something similar where I I had okay this quote unquote frame in Xamarin Forms is called like a content view control,
Mhm.
and you basically put whatever content within that control called a content view. And so the small little challenge that I ran into, and it might be trivial, it just wasn't clear to me, was that the maps that are each page that has the map, they're of different heights and widths. And I was trying to update the height and width in the code behind, but it just wasn't working at
Hmm.
all. So um, yeah, I see what you're saying. Over now that I got the maps working, I mean that stuff is just aesthetic. So over time, I could just figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
But
Did you include the location of like Domino's or convenience stores or whatever in your calculations to this point?
mm, no, because I think that is for the courier app, and this is just the customer app. Like I don't think the customer. Well, I mean, I appreciate your feedback, but the way that I had planned for this to actually, yeah, you're right. The short answer is no, not yet.
Okay.
I was going to load in the various restaurant options based on the customer's GPS coordinate.
Hmm.
And so some restaurants will be loaded and others will be omitted based on the proximity of those restaurants to the customer.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense that when a customer selects a restaurant and they put in the order, the customer doesn't have to see the restaurants on the map until they put in the order, and then they see the restaurant that the courier is traveling to. So
Yeah. Is that being able to see where they at? Is that purely just so that they know
yeah,
when they're getting close or
yeah.
okay.
Well, it's a couple things. It's for the courier to, or it's for the customer to be able to plan for the arrival of the courier based on them seeing how far the courier is, and I'll give them notifications based on the estimated time of arrival. So I could do that, but it's just convenient, especially when you have things going on. Like you might be you might be away, or I don't know. It's always good for them to see where the courier is at in relative to where they're at.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I mean but the courier could be literally like in the same on the same beach as them, 20 feet away, but they still have to go to Domino's, pick up the thing and bring it back, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll spend. I, I'm sure I could get it resolved. The whole map UX.
Hmm.
It's my first time doing it, and Xamarin Forms isn't known for being the easiest framework to just get things done. Originally, it's known for workarounds all the
Yeah.
time.
XAML in general.
Oh, I wouldn't
It's a
say
hard
like
beast.
WPF is stable, reliable,
Oh,
and
sure.
also legacy, but Xamarin Forms is just very. Xamarin Forms is covering multiple platforms and is trying to maintain like a common UI and a common like UX, and it's just trying to do a lot of things, and so there's always going to be issues,
Yeah.
especially with the complexity of iOS and the way it does things versus Android and the way it does things.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah. So the feedback that I got, and it was, I won't use the word frustrating, but in a way, I was like, how can you not? discover this functionality. Like as I was watching her try to use it, I'm like, God damn, like maybe I just represent a special type of person. One is I'm the one working on this, so to me everything comes natural. But then two, because I'm like hyper techie, I just don't. I assume I just don't approach using an app the same way someone, a normal person or an average person, may use an app. So let's start off, and maybe you could tell me some things that you think she got confused with when I told her to just pick up some food and place an order. Just starting with this landing page, what do you think she fumbled on when she wanted to uh, pick out a restaurant?
Um, well, did you say you were limited to the restaurants that are on there, or was
No,
she?
no, she immediately had interest in restaurant. She honestly, I don't think she was a fan of having like these convenience store items.
Hmm.
She was interested in the restaurants. Me, I think people prefer to eat healthy because you have health buffs and vegans. So I
Yeah,
think
I
for me,
suppose you are on the beach, so.
yeah, especially when you have children and stuff, I think that like some people want to give their children like fruits or whatever, and they might chow down on some pizza. But make long story short,
I
this
don't
icon
know.
right here,
Yeah.
to me, that was a restaurant's icon because you see beverages, snacks, and I thought this was restaurants. She thought that was the home button.
Oh, yeah. No, I can see that because it's literally a home.
So I didn't see that at all. So she said, why don't you just make it a fork? And that's it. I was like, oh, okay. So that's one item. And then she she didn't understand the labels over here. She didn't know you could interact with it. So she kept on like pressing this stuff, the images.
Hmm. But you can't click on the Domino's symbol and go to Domino's?
Yeah, you could click on that. Um, this my emulator takes a while,
Sure.
but let me go back. This wasn't discoverable for her. I don't know why it wasn't, but apparently she's going to represent everybody, right?
Hmm.
And not me. So I'm not sure if I should just throw this text inside of a button so that they see it's clickable, or I don't know. Like, and maybe it's a transparent button where it just has a border around it, and then that. But it didn't click with her on this. Um, the other part, if I go to a restaurant, is she didn't see these filters or these categories. She didn't see it at all.
Oh, sure, I can see that.
You tell me all this afterwards.
Well, no, I mean I can see it because I mean it's like one of these things that you've already demoed it to me, so I can't.
Okay.
You've already explained to me how the app works, so I can't. I wouldn't be able to easily give you like what it's like to see it for the first time and discover it. So it's like good that you actually had someone try it
Yeah.
um, like this.
So
But
she,
yeah.
so she was like, yeah, she didn't see it. She said, like, make it bigger and make it visible. And I was like, okay. And then something else that was really key is she would add an item, but then she's like, oh, I didn't mean to add that. And so,
Yeah, how do you get it off there?
well, you click on the cart
Oh, I see.
and then you could just remove it, but that wasn't clear to her. And so she was like, and she struggled with this for a while. And so she was like, yeah, like if I add something, I want to be able to remove it in the same place. Why would you add a removal capability in a different area than where you can add, where you have the add capability. And my answer is, well, I have limited real estate, but I mean, I didn't tell her that. But yeah, so I have to, more than likely, I'll throw this add and remove button as a third row for each list item, and I'll just put it dock it to the right hand side.
Well, once they've added added it, um, I suppose. Well, yeah. Once they add it, could you just make the remove button right there and just assume that it's remove? I suppose then you're worried about quantity, but if you could find another way to bring quantity to their attention, um,
Yeah.
or ask them quantity.
Well, yeah, I think I'll just create a third. So the first row is extravaganza. The second row of this list item is large. The third row I'm thinking is I'll take this plus and minus, shrink it down some. Well, I don't think I can shrink it down because they need to be able to hit it easily. But I think I'll take this addition sign and I'll add a minus sign. And of course, it'll be color differentiated and make that the third row of this list view item. And so then they could just add, or the minus button will probably be disabled, right? If they don't have anything added yet. I don't know. I have some ways, but my learning experience when I gave it to her is like I probably have to treat this app like it's a baby using it, where like things are big and glaring. That's kind of like what I believe I have to do.
Well, I mean, I think you're, yeah. I mean, try that. Obviously, don't throw everything out, but try it, and then I mean, I'd have someone else try it immediately and keep doing that till you get something where people are like, yeah, no, I know exactly how to order whatever you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
That's basically for everything that I've seen from UX people so far has been that's exactly what they do. They've got some principles they'll try to and some heuristics they'll try to derive from, but UX isn't really like a cut and dry deterministic thing. It's literally they throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and then when they test it and then it's like, oh, that doesn't work. It's test driven UI development, man. You should be all over that.
I mean, I'm not a UI person. Somehow I've been a UI developer for the past like 15 years, but like I'm just not. My brain doesn't work like that. I mean, I could tell you that an app sucks that I didn't build, but if I'm the one building it, I see it every day.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so your test is, basically like, okay, I want to have someone order these whatever items or order something that they're interested in right now. And so you build a UI, then you give it to them, test it, record their feedback, or have a few people test it, record their feedback, determine what it was that caused them to fail in certain scenarios, and then make an adjustment and then go and try it again. And keep doing that until people just get it. I think that's all you really can do here. You could lean on some heuristics though. There's some you can look at what is it, Gestalt principles or whatever, to get some ideas on what makes good design and how people see things. Like when things are grouped in a certain way, they are perceived as together even if they're not, and like there's some of that stuff you can lean on, but I don't know.
all
But yeah, I
right.
mean, I could see, you got your plus over there, and then literally a minus could show up after you click it.
Yeah. Something else is when she was ready to check out, this one, I couldn't believe like that it wasn't obvious to her, right? Um, and like the whole thing kind of embarrassed me, honestly. Even though I'm not a UX designer, I kind of thought that it was intuitive enough, but it wasn't. So like when I told her to check out, she was like, and she started clicking the home button, and then she started clicking this over here, and then she, for whatever reason, she didn't know that this was clickable.
Yeah.
Now, I took this from Amazon's website.
Oh, the
Except,
card being there.
yeah, except
On their
Amazon's website is in the top right hand corner of the page. Um, but like she didn't see this, which made me believe that okay, so maybe I'm trying to use images as much as possible, but maybe I just need to make this a button. And I'm not even sure if I should still have a card in here. Like, I still have to figure this out. But she didn't discover this at all, and I don't understand why she didn't, because like this stuff is the stuff you selected, like, and like usually on the bottom right hand side there's like a proceed button, but I mean she
I,
didn't see it, so like
you
can't
know,
her.
I think that's true of I think that proceed button is true of desktop applications, but I don't think it's true of mobile applications. At least not within the Android iOS realm. That was one thing that Windows Store always did was that, or Windows Phone always did, is that they put action buttons at the bottom, which was
Hmm.
different than I remember the way that
Everybody else did.
everyone else had laid it out, and it was more intuitive, I think. And I loved my Windows Phone, but because you didn't have to go to the top to click these stupid things. But yeah, the cart's on the top there in Amazon. Trying to just look at some other apps that I've got in my phone and just see how they have them laid out. Like, yeah, navigation is at the top. I mean, it's like a website in that way. A lot of the navigation and click events are at the top. Oh, here's one. I'll go off of this. This is another one I can look at. Oh gosh, stupid thing. Yeah, cart's at the top on this one as well. So it could be that just that it because it's
Okay.
yeah, there's a precedence there that maybe people have got so in tune with that when it's outside of their mode of operating, uh, it's harder to understand it because we basically get trained on how to use apps, and when something doesn't match those trained behaviors, we basically don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah, so I'm
Although,
thinking,
unless you're like probably us, where it's like, oh, well, this didn't work. I'll try this, and I'll go to here, and oh, there it is, and you just don't care. But people who are just like, I don't know how this works, and they just get mad and frustrated and shut it off.
yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna move this cart control up here and build out some menu and throw like this profile as a menu item, but move this up here. Um,
Yeah,
so
you could even probably throw that. I wonder if you could throw some of that stuff that's really not important at the moment that they're doing that into like a hamburger menu or whatever with like a fan out on the side or something like that. Um, if you know
yeah,
what I'm talking about.
yeah, but well, for the profile, yeah, but I kind of feel like this is a food type app, so I kind of feel like these icons, which I'm not really a fan of these icons, but I can't find anything that's more aesthetic. I feel like they need to be public facing on the landing page, but like all this here, like it has to change, man. She didn't discover this crap.
Yeah.
And
Well, I wonder too if you could just, well, maybe it would hide it too well, but the convenience store items, I mean, you could try to treat that as like a logical restaurant where it's something you could drill into in the same way that you drill into any other restaurant, um, but highlight it maybe in a different way or something like that. Or
okay,
I mean, but if you could do that, and then you would reduce it down to, hey, select where you want to get food from,
That's a good idea.
and then you just see Burger and Shake, Domino's, Denny's, and grocery store. I don't know. I suppose you could even have. Well, I suppose you said some of these people might have like popular items stocked or whatever ready to go, but yeah, I don't know. You could. The thing is, you can always try it, um, and just change your UI a little bit to work that way. And if it tests it again, and then if people are still confused, be like, I want you to order a pizza and orange juice, and see if anybody gets how to do that. you know, but
Okay. Um, and then something that, what else? She did check out, and then the map loaded, and the map is still loading or whatever. It's an emulator. It takes a while.
yeah,
And like, she liked this up here. Like everything up top, she thought that was cool. That's like the only good feedback I got. And then for whatever reason, she didn't select any of these cards. But I don't know. I think this is pretty apparent, right? Like it's clear that that's what they need to do. And then she finally clicked it, and like, I mean, she didn't have issues as much with the rest of this stuff.
yeah,
It was just the main function of the app was picking out things and then removing them when you realize that you don't want it anymore. And that was, I just got slaughtered on that part. So,
yeah. Well, I could see the order, the payment thing, because you've effectively got, I mean, two concerns going on in that page, right? You're looking at it for a delivery person, and I don't know that I'm expecting payment at that point in time.
well, Uber and
Or is
Lyft,
it that
they
way?
have the same user experience.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I've never really used it.
what okay, what happens is, let me go back. I feel like
So what
this
you're doing is you're finding your delivery person and
delivery
helping you
person,
pay.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like shipping and it's like a shipping and billing page at the same time or whatever. When you
yeah,
hit request delivery, that's your order button. So,
yeah. I mean,
okay.
I got that UX from those Uber and Lyft apps. Um, so yeah, so I got some work to do, and I'm testing it out on like different form factors
Oh yeah.
uh, of the phone, which makes it really hard. Like this is a Nexus 6, but my other emulator that I'm testing it on is the Pixel, the Google Pixel, and that's where like I spend a lot of time trying to retrofit things in. So yeah, so what I was saying is that like when it launches, you'll have like, and let's assume that I actually have more than one deliverer or courier. You'll see like this icon right here
Mhm.
sprinkled around the map, and then when they place an order, it'll remove all the other couriers and just select the one courier that is going to deliver the order. So,
Okay. Fair enough.
uh, how much more time do you have?
A couple minutes.
Okay. So, I mean, like you said, like if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Honestly, I'm surprised I got this far. I usually tap out. I usually tap out after like 1 month of coding because I find something else shinier and then I'll start working on that. And then I'll find something else shinier and I'll start working on that. So
Yeah, I think that's a lot of our afflictions. I mean, I'm in the same way. It's really hard to get motivated at this stage of the game, despite taking steps along the way. It's like I wait for it to pop back in again, but like I said, at least having some sort of thing I have to think about it every week at least once. So keeps it fresh in the mind. And you know, if I come here every week just like I didn't do anything, I'm gonna feel pretty bad after a while. So, but
Yeah. But so what do you hope to accomplish next week?
I got to figure out how to. One of the things I need to do is I haven't done yet is labeling these little SD cards. Um, I also need to figure out how I'm going to actually package these. I've got some ideas, but like if you have this inside of a box like this, it's just going to be like rattling around in there. So I either have to find a way to pin it in there, or I even thought about just taking these little plastic things and gluing it onto the box, like put a dab of hot glue behind it, just put it in a spot, and then they get it and they just pull it out that way. I don't know. I got to figure that out. So
You can't use a paper clip.
I don't think so. Not with this. There's some bigger plastic containers I could try using as well. That might be easier. Or I could design like a little. If I had a 3D printer, I could probably put together like a little clip to hold these in place inside of the box. But or like if I could put some sort of paper type thing that this could slide into like a slot, that might even work. So I got to figure that some of that logistics out about how those are going to go. We'll see if that guy gets back to me or not. But I think reaching out and trying to find someone else to do the same thing with that's interested would be a good step in addition to just getting the logistics of this. How do I print a label for these, and how am I going to fix it in the box so that it's not just rattling around during shipping? And
You can go on Alibaba, and I think you have to create a spec though, and they could probably create like a little container thing, whether it's
yeah, and that's a bit far for what I'm just gonna try to find the cheapest way that is easiest to do at this point, because I don't even know that this is
paper clip.
useful. So yeah. Well, I've got a lot of I end up with a lot of waste of chipboard when I make a box, so I could probably try to make something there where it's a guy, one of my buddies actually, had a little thing where he cut out, a deal where you could fit it in there with a couple tabs. So if I could take something like that and then cut it into the chipboard and put the chipboard in there that way, I could probably make just something like that to hold it in place and make enough of them at a time that I don't need to. I could just use them over and over again or whatever. But I don't know. So I'm gonna do some research on and development on how to get these properly fixed in a box, and then try to see if I can find another person that's interested in dealing with this. So, how about you?
I'm going to replace the restaurant icon on the landing page with a fork. Oh, you can't see my screen. I'm going to replace the restaurant icon with a fork icon on the landing screen. I'm going to make the filters bigger on the menu pages for restaurants. I'm going to provide a delete capability that's a sibling of the add functionality for these items. And I am going to consider making a convenience store icon that would be a sibling of the restaurant icons. And I my my stretch goal is to get a hamburger menu on there. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that. Xamarin Forms has a new framework called Xamarin Forms Shell that kind of represents the structured way, or the Battleship Gray applications for desktop. That's their framework for the mobile apps. So I kind of want to look into that, but that's a stretch goal. And I feel like I'm probably not going to get that part done. But basically,
Well,
All right, Sean.
I'm out of time, so
Appreciate it.
yep.
All right. Peace. Take
See ya.
care. Thanks.